Yep, we're live. Here we are, back into the Raw and Uncut DC show with me. What's your nickname again? We gotta find a nickname for you.
It doesn't matter what my name is.
I knew you were gonna get me with that Raw thing. I knew you were gonna get me with that. I walked right into that one. Oh well. But anyways, this is gonna be a discussion on the Twilight Saga. Now, if this was back in 2009, me and you would be like on here every day talking about Twilight, wouldn't we, man? Because we were at one time not super huge fans, but we were big fans of the franchise back in the day when it was airing. And I know this might come as a shock to some people that know me, especially the past couple years on my other channel, because I never really talked about this before. But yes, at one time I was a Twilight fan, and I will explain why in this video. And so my good friend here, Corey, will explain too. Now,
Oh, God.
technically, Twilight was meant to just be like a romance novel for teenage girls. Let's face it. You know, so that's the huge part of the franchise. But for me, since I was a kid, I've always liked reading about supernatural and fantasy type of stuff. Like I said, anything that gets me out of this world for a couple hours, I'm into. And with Twilight, what intrigued me first of all was about the vampires. And it was like a different take on vampires that we haven't seen before. Let's face it, the Twilight vampires don't die in the sun. Instead, they sparkle in the sun. Like they're so much stronger in a sense. In fact, I think you can't even mistake a Twilight vampire. I think in order to kill a Twilight vampire, you have to like break him in half or something like that. So it was like that kind of caught my attention about the whole different take on vampires and everything else like that. And as I remember reading the books, I barely remember them now because it's been so long, but I can tell they were kind of cheesy when I read the books, but it wasn't until I saw the first movie that I actually got hooked. And what got me hooked into it was the whole fantasy element of it. Like this whole different world with, it's kind of hard to explain because, like I said, the main focus is a love story, but it wasn't that hooked me though. It's hard to explain. But what about you, man? What got you into Twilight?
All right, let me start by saying, I mean, I read all the books, so one, I'm a reader. Whether,
Yeah.
I pretty much read all kinds of books, so it really doesn't matter.
Yeah,
All right, I guess I'm gonna say honestly, it was probably the Harry Potter films that the guy that portrayed Edward
Oh, yeah,
actually did a few of those, a few of the Harry Potter films, and I knew that he was starring in this. That's what really got me to pretty much to watch it, to try to give it a chance. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Otherwise, you probably never give it a chance. We'll be like, what kind of movie is this?
I don't know. I probably would have sooner or later because, I mean, nowadays I'm not that into movies like I used to be. But, I mean, I gave all kinds of movies a chance. Hell, I'll sit through the girliest movie there ever was. Some of them were good, some of them were bad. You know what I'm saying? It's a toss-up most of the time.
That's a risk you take.
What?
I mean, I've seen a lot of bad movies I've taken chances on because I'm a big movie fan. So, and at the time when this movie came out, I was actually working at a movie theater. So I remember like the whole like hype for it. Of course, I mean, yes, I read the books before the movie came out, but I wasn't really, I didn't really understand the whole story just yet until I actually saw the first film, which had it had a real different feel to it than most vampire movies. It really didn't really focus too much on the vampire aspect. It was more like kind of like a Romeo and Juliet type of story. But I liked the feel of it and the way the first movie had a certain indie vibe to it. It didn't really feel like a mainstream movie. Like Harry Potter is like a mainstream. It has all the special effects and stuff like that. Twilight just felt differently. It was so easy. Like one character I always like loved was Emmett. Emmett. I loved Emmett from the time I saw him. Man. I was like, that's my character right there. He was my favorite of the whole Cullen clan. But the first film, it had a special indie feel to it. It had that nice fantasy element. And even though at the heart of it was a romance story I really didn't care for, it drug me in somehow. I don't know why. Man. I guess, like I said, it's just a fantasy element of the whole story. What about you, man?
Oh, man. I guess I was just willing to see how it was all going to play out, really.
Well,
I wasn't going to compare it to the books. I was just trying to see how much to the T that it would follow the books.
See, that was the thing. See, I was wondering, like, because like most things based off a book, they never get it 100% right. Whether it's Lord of the Rings, I think Harry Potter is the closest to properly portraying from the book. mean, you could probably better answer that because you're a big Harry Potter fan. I
Yeah,
think you
man.
told me they're pretty close. But I remember going to see Twilight for the very first time. I think I saw it opening weekend with a friend of mine, and like I said, I wasn't anywhere near a huge fan. It was mainly the whole vampire lore that got me into the first place, and I was like, oh no, this is going to be. I could tell from that moment on it was going to be a huge phenomenon. I just sort of sensed it. I was like, even though that movie had a low budget, but look at all the money it made. It was ridiculous. And the thing is that it got so much complaint for going against the book. You talk about movies based off of books that don't really follow the book. According to a lot of fans, it wasn't exactly anywhere near like the book, but yet, in a lot of ways, I think it was kind of better than the book. I think. What do you think, man?
I don't know about that, man. I guess my view on that is I actually like the movies better than the books because, before all that, I was all into, Vampire Diaries and True Blood. And I
Yeah,
feel like what was her name? Stephanie
yeah,
Myers?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I felt like she stole a lot of the ideas from Vampire Diaries, dude. So the books I really didn't care too much for. Honestly, I liked the movies better because it was sort of actors portraying this regardless. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. See,
Regardless if you steal an idea from somebody, I just wanted to see how they portrayed this book, if that makes sense. Like
it's always
the
intriguing. Like how they can
basically the movies didn't disappoint me compared to the book is because, like I said, I feel like the book was all stolen ideas from Vampire Diaries. It won't. I don't. She said it came to her in a dream or something like that. It probably came to her in her dream because she read Vampire Diaries, Steve.
well,
That's
she
what
can
it
only.
boiled down
Well,
to. But as of the movie, it did what it could, because
yeah.
honestly, I just feel the author of the book has no talent, dude. So I mean, the directors did their best to make the book. I mean, to make the movies halfway decent.
The book, like I said, for me, when I go see a movie, I really don't really care too much about like dialogue or stuff like that that most people care about. Nor when I go see a movie based on a book, I'm not expecting it to be just like the book, word for word, everything on there. It'd be nice if that was accomplishable, but it's not really not. Like I said, I guess it kind of helped for me personally that I wasn't a huge fan going into it beforehand, like most people were, and I was able to enjoy like just like it takes place in a rainy town called Forks, like in Bella being a tomboy and stuff like that. It felt like so kind of like realistic in a way. It had, like I said, it had a special indie vibe to it that it just drew me in, and it got so much heat. I remember before the movie came out, Rob Pattinson got so much heat being cast as Edward. And it was kind of funny to me that after the movie came out, everyone loved his portrayal of Edward. When he was so hated beforehand, before the movie even came out, like they were boycotting petitions to get him off the role. It's like it's amazing how much crazy this fan base was for this franchise, and it took me a long time to get it because, like I said, at the heart of the story is four teenage girls about a vampire boy falling in love with a human girl. But like you said, see, I wasn't really a fan of Vampire Diaries before this. I got into all the shows afterwards. It was Twilight, Vampire Diaries, and True Blood. So I didn't really know. But when you look at the story, it's the same thing. Vampire falling in love with a girl from high school. Same thing to it, And I guess in a lot of ways, a lot of people like those kind of stories, vampire romance stories lately. You know what I'm
Yeah, man.
saying? I mean, you think about it. Most vampire stories now are like they're like lover boys compared to how being those evil like evil creatures like they used to be. Like they're capable of love now. Vampires are. So that I guess it was kind of like unexpected thing for me to actually even when I went to go see the movie, I wasn't really expecting to even like it. I was like, well, it's good, it's bad, but I ended up enjoying it. So afterwards, like I said, I didn't really become a hardcore fan, but I started. I read the books again before all the movies came out, and of course, as the movies come out, they got a bigger budget each time, and it's really hard to say because. Like I said, I really didn't care too much for the main storyline about, I don't really care for the love triangle BS. It was all about the fantasy element for me. This whole vampire world and stuff like that with vampires and werewolves. Because it really did at the heart of it. They still had that vampires versus werewolves. You had the wolf pack that really hated the Cullens. You had the Cullens that hated the werewolves. So I kind of wish they kind of went more into that. The mythology of vampires and werewolves more. What do you think, Ben?
I mean, like I said, they did their best with what they could, dude. I mean, I just think it was just, I just think if it was made by somebody else as of, the author, and it was somebody else's idea, I think it would have been better.
According to Stephanie Meyer, like, before they even made Twilight, they had a totally different idea for it. Like, it was like more like a rated R horror film. Like, it was supposed to be totally different from the book. That would have been kind of intriguing, I think. Imagine if they went that direction, making a rated R horror film of Twilight instead of exactly by the book. Because that was supposed to happen before the version we got ended up happening. So, I think they did a good job. I mean, like, it's probably one of the better movies based on a book there is, even though a lot of fans don't agree with that. I think they did a good job. See, the most important thing in any movie is casting. I thought they got all the roles perfectly. Bella, Kristen Stewart. Even though, she played a tomboyish role, she played it with perfection. Robert Pattinson, I don't know anybody's work. I didn't know he was in Harry Potter or anything like that beforehand, so he was kind of new to me. So he did a good job as Edward. So the most important thing to get right on a movie based off a book is the casting. It's very important. And I think they did a good job, man. People's eyeball real quick. What do you think about the cast, man?
Keep going.
Keep going, dude. What's going on, man? What's going on?
Oh, God.
What's going on, man?
I don't know. What else you got to add?
you got anything more to add, man?
Huh?
I
mean, just what do you want to touch base on? All right, I'm gonna ask you that. This is sort of an interview process. What did you like about it then, and what makes you not like it now?
It was like I said, the cinematography of the film. I loved it when it takes place like in rainy towns. The vibe of it, the movie, the characters, the indie feel of the movie. It didn't really feel like a mainstream special effects driven movie. The different take on vampires, even though I wish they went more into it, explaining how they are the way they are. See, that's my biggest problem looking back on it. They really didn't really explain. There was really a lack of character development. They focused too much on the love story and forcing that down your throat instead of actually kind of like going by character by character. Of course, in Eclipse, they kind of fixed that with going into Jasper's backstory. But I feel like the lack of backstory in the vampires and the werewolves is my biggest complaint. Because they really wanted to just stick it true to the teenage girl audience with the love triangle with Edward and Jacob and all that crap. So, pretty much, it was just a fantasy element of the movies that got me in, man. And it wasn't really targeted for people like us, but, we found ways to enjoy it, pretty much.
All right, here you go. Are you Team Edward or Team Jacob?
I am actually Team Bella and Team Volturi, man. I go against the grain. Because really, I guess if I had to pick between the two of them, probably Team Jacob, because Jacob is a real. I can relate to that guy. He falls in love with the girl that he can't have, and in a way, I kind of can relate to that because at one time in high school, I fell for a girl I couldn't have, not to the extent that he did, but he kind of got taken advantage of. I think a lot of guys can relate to that, man. You got stuck in that what's it called, the friend zone, and.
Yeah.
I wish they would have kind of developed a better story for him, though. Instead of drawing out that love triangle thing. See, that was my biggest problem with these movies, was the love triangle, pretty much. What about you, man?
What?
What about you, man? What do you think?
What are you asking?
Like, what was your, like, looking back on it now, what was your biggest problem with these movies?
Like I said, I've said it millions of times. I think it's the author. Period. I mean, as of like, if I didn't know if it was a book or not, and I just watched the movies, I wouldn't really have no problem with them. Really, man.
Yeah.
I just think it's just. I think it's one of those that the book actually disappointed you because, like I said, it just seemed like it was too many ideas stolen from this girl, and hence she ain't wrote nothing really since, man. So it just proves that she's not really as talented as the movies were. You know what I'm saying?
That's true. I mean, like you said, that it came to her all in a dream. And I just don't buy that. I think that she took a lot of elements from different movies. There's a lot of Romeo and Juliet in the love story. She said Shakespeare was one of her inspirations for Twilight. And you could tell, like I said, after watching Vampire Diaries, there's a lot of elements in there as well. So, yeah, it was not an original idea, no matter what she says. And she's only written one book since then, The Host. And really, since then, she's kind of disappeared off the radar. You don't hear about her much more, no more, unless she writes a new Twilight book, which I don't think she will. So, yeah, I mean, even though Twilight was a good story, it was not an original story. There was a lot of different elements from other films and stories thrown in there. So, yeah. The only thing different was a take on vampires. That was the only thing different. Other than that, it's the same old thing you could find anywhere else.
Yeah, but to a certain degree, it was still like I said. I think it's less Romeo and Juliet and more Vampire Diaries, as of there was a love triangle. And yes, that for instance, Matt from Vampire Diaries wasn't a werewolf, and Jacob was, but he pretty much was the Jacob in that relationship. He always wanted her, and then in reality, yeah, it was her ex, but it turned into more of a friendship.
Okay, well, let's kind of dive into the storyline. So, let's talk about the first film because that started this whole thing with Twilight. Did you buy like Edward and Bella's romance? 'Cause pretty much it all started because he could not read Bella's thoughts, so it kind of intrigued him because he has that gift where he could read people's thoughts, but he couldn't with her. Was it kind of like a mystery type of thing that kind of got them attracted to each other? The whole mystery, like she was, he's a vampire, she's a human, but he can't read her thoughts. Is that what you think it was?
Uh, I don't know. I just think she just got to that age. She sort of not necessarily hit puberty at that age, but that's when I think she just started going crazy for boys, man. And then, it's a different guy compared to the rest of them. He was the not necessarily mysterious, but he was the oddball of that high school.
Yeah.
And I think that's what drew her in. Like I said, some people start late. Some people are, 13 years old, crazy over boys or girls. And, it goes on and goes on. I just think, what was she, 17 years old? I think
Yeah.
at that point, that's when she was just like, oh, yeah. You know what I'm saying?
I like how they kind of had him as kind of like an outcast, kind of like a loner. Like every girl in high school. Remember when he walked into this person in the cafeteria when Jessica's talking to Bella about Edward, and you could tell that every girl wants him, but yet he's the guy that totally puts himself out there as a loner, as an outcast. And honestly, even though most girls won't admit this, I don't think. Of course, this is applied to every single girl. A lot of girls are kind of attracted to the mysterious, bad boy type. Even though, as we come to find out, Edward's not really truly a bad boy, but still, he's that mysterious guy that you're just curious about because you're wondering like, why is he the way he is? So that kind of intrigued me there, and I could kind of understand like why she would want to go to him. Like you said, she's 17 years old, so of course she's getting to the age where she wants to go after boys. So I guess in a way they could develop the story more, but they kind of, like I said, lack of character development. They kind of rushed that storyline out there. You know. You know what could have been, man? If they would have got the Harry Potter route down and got like those directors to do like a close to 3 hour movie each movie, it probably would have been better developed, I think. The problem
Yeah.
was they rush these movies out every single year while the actors are still young, because you want to know 27-year-old guy playing a 17-year-old kid or a 30-year-old guy playing Edward falling in love with a 17-year-old, so they wanted to go down that route, man. What do you think, man?
Which I guess to get on that, like, how they portrayed the character. I guess I'll speak on that. Is like Kristen Stewart, the girl that played Bella. I feel like she wasn't acting at all because she is that clumsy, shy girl that if you watch all her movies, it's no acting involved really, man. It's more of her just being herself, really.
I remember she got bashed so bad for her acting as Bella. Like, oh, she's a terrible actress, but yet you watch her in interviews, and she's the exact same way. She's not very, sociable. She's that shy, timid girl, and she kind of has that tomboy style in real life. So it's kind of like she was playing herself in a way.
I mean, she's definitely like a punk rocky chick.
Yeah. So
yeah,
I mean,
much rather,
like I said, genius.
Much rather wear like a band T-shirt, a pair of jeans, and Converses.
But I feel like we haven't really dived into the story of Twilight just yet. We're kind of like, just talking about like, other things. But as far as the story of Twilight goes, with the whole love triangle, did that really interest you into the series, or was it like the fantasy element, like me?
I mean, like I said, I guess what destroys it really is you already knew really what was going to happen unless they changed the role of the books. You knew what was already going to take place because you had already read the books. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's sort of hard to pretty much speak on.
I kind of wish that with the movies they kind of went a different way in the book. I was expecting more focus on the Volturi in the movies, and they were barely in there. Like I said, pretty much all 5 movies are just focused on the love triangle, which, like I said, is the heart of the whole story. Is Team Edward versus Team Jacob fighting for this girl Bella? Who's gonna win? That's what it was. But I felt like they could have got more deeper into other characters, like the Volturi, like the bad vampires, like Jessica and like James and Victoria, and stuff like that. Pretty much, it's like you really had to dig for things like in this franchise. That's why I don't think it really holds up nowadays after it's over with, because there's so much better stories out there. That's why I kind of fell in love with True Blood as quick as I did, because that's what I was looking for, a mature vampire, but yet kind of romance story, but not too much. So it's like, looking back on it now, it wasn't as great as I thought it once was. You know what I'm saying? What's wrong? What's wrong?
I can't stop laughing, man.
What's wrong, man?
All right.
You think we messed one up, man? You want to start over? Or?
No, we're good. All right, I'm gonna say this. Hold on, man. Take it away for a minute.
All right, I'll say, it was a good franchise. You're cracking me up, man. I told you this is why we call it Raw&Uncut. We do crazy shit like this.
We need to have more like this so we can laugh, dude. This is great.
Oh man. So you want to start over? Or you want to keep this going?
Let's just keep it going like this, dude.
I feel like I screwed up. I'm sorry, guys. I kind of screwed up.
I can't help it, man. I mean, like I said, man, I give all the movies put together, I give it a good C, man. It's like I said, what destroyed me, I can't say it enough, is the author, man. As of the directors, they all did excellent, man. I can't say enough about that, actually, to a certain degree, I still enjoy watching the movies. If it comes on TV, I'll take a watch at it, you know what I'm saying?
Well,
honestly, I mean, there really weren't a lot of, I guess, actors or actresses or characters, whichever way you want to look at it, that I really did not like. I mean, I pretty much enjoyed all of them to a certain extent.
So I'm asking some questions. So, like I said,
yeah, let's do it that way. That's better.
As a vampire story, Twilight, compared to other shows you're interested in, like True Blood and Vampire Diaries, how did Twilight hold up to the other 2 shows as a vampire story? What do you think?
All right, I'm gonna say it like this, and this should be a good answer that makes you think. is the difference of the way, you know, the movies in the book portrayed vampires made it successful, at the same time dropped it, you know, pretty low. You know what I'm saying? Because you're used to a certain way. You know, I think they could have did better than, you know, have the vampires sparkle, man.
And we're
You know what
sparkling.
I'm saying? And at least,
That's kinda
and I
cheesy.
still don't know this, I can't remember if it said it in the book, whether the bad vampires sparkle or not.
You know what? They never answered that, even in the movies. You notice
And see,
that?
that's what I think they should have touched on to make it sort of, you know, bad. You know what I'm saying? Made it more, I don't know, you know.
That was kind of cheesy. The sparkling, that was kind of like, like, I guess like for the women, I guess. But
I mean, it did sort of look cool in a way. You know what I'm saying?
it was. See, the thing is, it was like I said, it was kind of like a whole different take on vampires. You never thought they'd have vampires sparkle in the sun. I never
So,
thought.
like I said, I mean, to answer it as compared to like Vampire Diaries and True Blood and even vampires before it, like Lost Boys and shit like that, Twilight's probably the worst vampires. But at the same time, like I said, I like a little bit of originality. Like we, you know, sooner or later want to discuss horror movies. As of you run out of originality, it was so much of the same vampires with you. You know, you could only go outside at dark. This sort of changed it. You know, Vampire Diaries and Twilight changed it, where, you know, Vampire Diaries had the ring, the other one just, you know, sparkled. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You want a sparkle,
All
man?
right, ask another question, dude.
If you were a vampire, would you want a sparkle, man?
I don't know. I think that's a better, that's like an easy way where the girl's like, you know, will you buy me diamonds or something? And to be like, step on outside. You know what I'm saying? You
Yeah,
save money that way. I
I'm
am a diamond. You know what
I'm
I'm
your
saying?
personal diamond. See,
Yeah, there you go. I'm your personal diamond.
I guess in
I
a
don't
way,
know if
like I
I'd want
said,
to sparkle, dude.
it's really hard to be for me to explain why I like these movies. Like I said, this is why I'm kind of like going around the bush here. I guess it's like it was the originality of the story and like the way they did it, and I guess the way they portrayed the characters. Like I said, for me, I really don't give two shits about dialogue and personal stupid shit like that for a movie. It was all about the cinematography. Like you said, all the directors did a good job. But who was your favorite director, and what was your favorite film of the whole Twilight franchise?
That's a hard choice. I would say, to a certain degree, I would say the girl, the, you know, the first one that did
Oh,
Twilight,
Catherine
the first
Twilight?
one, because she really had no money really to work with. So I
That's why
will
it was so
say
low
that, you know,
budget.
pressure was on her, as of, you know, whoever, I don't even know who the hell did New Moon. It had its parts where it was pretty awesome, but then at, you know, when it gets towards the end, you sort of, after you done watched it so much, you really cut it off before that ends. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the ending
But
of
I
New
would
Moon.
say, out of the most hardcore and brutalist one, I would say Eclipse is probably one of the best ones.
Okay, and to answer the question for myself, Twilight by far is the easy watch for me. In fact, I just watched it earlier today for the first time in a long time. Like you said, you could tell she had so much pressure going into it. It was very low budget. Like I said, it had an indie feel to the movie. It did not feel at all like a mainstream movie. The special effects were all low budget, or should I say, what kind of special effects? You could tell they had no huge budget with the movie, but she did a good job though. I think with New Moon, you could tell that each movie got on, they had a bigger budget for each film. But I enjoyed the whole saga as a whole. But Twilight is the more easy watch, and the best character development of the whole each movie. I really felt they introduced the Collins properly, and they explained the story pretty well. And all the movies are just focusing too much on the love story. But like I said, that's the heart of the franchise, though. So you just can't really ignore that. So, let's talk about the characters in detail. What do you think about
Okay.
Edward?
Who?
Edward. Let's start with Edward. What do you think about his
I mean,
character?
like I said, he's really the reason I even decided to give the movie a chance. Like I said, because, you know, I was big into Harry Potter, so I was like, you know, I want to see what else this guy can do, and I'll add this before skipping, you know, to the next person that are, you know, totally answering your question. I
Okay.
will say that guy's got some talent that I don't even think nobody's really decided to give him a chance on. Is I was a big fan of black and white films, and I think if you look up a picture of James Dean, dude, probably one of the best actors there ever was. You look at his movies like Rebel Without a Cause. He looked to the T like Edward does, and Edward dresses the same exact way. He's got that same style, that same. He could, if they ever did like a biography movie, that hit the big screen, Edward or Robert, whatever you want to call him, would be that perfect person. I think he did hell of a job in acting in the movie, to answer your question. So I say I give him an A, man, because and to answer the other question I asked you, I am Team Edward.
Team Edward, man. you're kind of
The
like
guy needs to keep his shirt on, damn it.
Doesn't he own a shirt?
Damn that.
Man. All right, let me ask you next, Bella. What do you think about Bella?
Like I said, I mean, I guess what interests me with her, it won't much acting going on there, dude. Is because she is that girl, and I sort of. There's a whole bunch of different, I guess, women that to a certain degree I find sort of attractive, or give that second look to, and she reminds me. She's got that style of like Avril Lavigne to me. You know what I'm saying?
It's so weird.
I think she did hell of a job, but like I said, I mean, she was just pretty much portraying herself, dude. You watch any movie she's ever played in, even as early as the movie with Jodie Foster, I think it was called Panic Room.
Yeah.
As little as she was then. Huh?
That was a good movie. I was just saying that's an awesome movie.
Yeah.
One of my
But I
favorite.
mean, you look at all her movies, The Runaways or whatever that was called. It's pretty much like watching Bella because she does the same exact thing. I guess I would give her a C, dude, because it won't much challenges to her because she was just portraying herself, dude.
It's so weird for me because usually I'm attracted to girls that actually, I'm not going to lie, that actually show the skin. But like, girls like her, I find tomboyish girls so sexy because I don't know what it is, man, about girls like Kristen Stewart, but she has that natural beauty to her. Maybe that's what it is. She's a plain Jane, but she has that natural beauty to her. And like you said, she plays that tomboy style to the T, just like Avril Lavigne. So that's probably why she played that role so perfectly. So let's talk about the next main character, Jacob. What do you think about Jacob?
Oh, God.
You team Jacob?
All right, I give respect where respect is due when he was going to get canned, I think, on the second film because, as the books go, he constantly gained muscle. To the very end, he was just supposed to be this diesel guy. So I give it credit for comparing him to the first one to the second one. I mean, good Lord, dude. I mean, he could have very well been he had a wrestling body, basically.
Yeah,
Did he portray, what was in the books and how good his acting skill was? I'll give him a good B, dude, because, I mean, he did his thing.
Yeah, and he didn't own a shirt, like Edward said. So.
Oh, God. Yeah, see, that's a funny thing about him, dude. What was he, maybe 16 at the time, and you have like 40-year-old girls in love with this guy, dude. But see, I find that funny that a 40-year-old girl, 50-year-old girl, woman, can find this little boy attractive, yet if a guy were to do that same thing, he's considered like a molester.
Like ridiculous. Definitely a double standard, like a hypocrites, man, like you said. All right, let's go on to the Collin family. What are you doing? Let's start with Carlisle Collin. What do you think about him, man?
I guess out of all of them, he was the one that I was most, I guess, interested in. Give or take, I did fucking cry during Breaking Dawn Part 2 when I thought he died. I will give it that, dude. I was in the theater, and pretty much everybody looked at me like, what in the hell's going on here, man?
You're like,
yeah, man.
Yeah, that was a sad scene, though. Like, he was like, I wasn't really cared too much for his character, but, he was a nice guy, and he really wanted to help people. He played that.
You see, the funny thing about that, speaking of which, is when we talked about this, I don't even know if you remember this, but we were talking about, whether they were going to have it where they all lived in peace. I said they need to kill a character, and you said what character? And I say don't hit them hard with like a Edward, a Jacob, a Bella, all them likable characters. I did say that it needed to be the dad, the guy that started it all for that family. I did call that one, dude.
Yeah, you did call that one. And I was thinking about you when I saw the movie. I was like, oh God, they actually did it. I was like, they actually killed Carlisle. That was a pretty ballsy move. I wish they would have actually kept it in the movie, not just Alice's vision. You know what I'm saying? Oh well, so I might as well let's go to her next, Alice. What do you think about Alice, man?
I liked her, dude. She was weird as hell.
She was a cool character, man.
Yeah, I liked her, and her and Jasper, it was just hilarious to see the two. You know what I'm saying? You have one is just complete weird, and then I will say, let's do Alice and Jasper together because I'm getting ready to talk about him.
Go ahead, man.
I will say, if they ever remade Edward Scissorhands, he would be the perfect guy to portray Edward Scissorhands.
He has a perfect look for it. I can just see that.
Yeah, he's that weird. And I will also give it to, no matter how badass, the badass vampires were, Jasper was the truest to being a vampire outside of Twilight, if you really look at it. He had that hunger for blood. He had everything that fit a vampire, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and he has, like you said, he has that weird look on him, man. Like you said, he'd be perfect for like any kind of like Edward Scissorhands, like roles like that. You know what I'm saying? So since you did couples,
I liked both of them.
Let's do Emmett and Rosalie. What do you think about those two men?
Emmett had his funny parts about him, dude.
He was my favorite.
I'll give him that. I really didn't care too much for her, to be honest, dude.
I don't know what to think about her either. Like, I liked her character, but she really didn't do much.
No, not really.
Besides, like picking on Bella throughout starting shit with Bella and Edward throughout the whole movies and stuff like that. But
yeah, they're like a hard one to really discuss of what I really think.
I think this is what I said earlier, like the lack of character development. If they would explore her character a little more, yes, they gave her a short backstory to clips, but still, I felt like it wasn't really enough to really care too much about her. I didn't hate her character, but they really didn't dive into it too much as they should have for each of the characters. So, I guess we'll move on then. We forgot the mom, Esme. What do you think about her, man?
I liked her, dude, because she just seemed like a normal mom. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, she played a normal mom. Like I said, even though
that was pretty much her. Like I said, it's hard to discuss people that really, them being there and them not being there, it wouldn't have mattered. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They didn't really exploit their character enough for you to say, they were good or they were bad.
Like I said, it was like the love story and like everybody else. No characters in between.
I don't even say it's bad. I just think they focused on some people more than the others. I'll say that.
So let's get to my next thing. Like, let's talk about the humans as a whole, because really, the humans really have a big part besides the first film. Like, Michael, Jessica. Who's the Asian guy again? I forgot his name. What was his name?
Oh crap! You put me on the spot there.
I forgot his name. What do you think about the human? Yeah. What do you think about the humans in the movie? What do you think about them?
Well, my favorite one by far is Jessica to begin with.
Oh yeah, she was hilarious.
Yeah, I like her a lot, dude.
So when she talk about Edward, like, I guess no one here's good enough for him. Like, she's clearly jealous.
Now you're an adrenaline junkie. Yeah, man.
He told her like dropping pipe bombs in the movie, man.
Yeah, man, I liked her, dude.
How about Bella's dad? What was his name again? Charlie. What do you think of Charlie? Good old Charlie, man.
Yeah, I liked him, dude, because he really portrayed what you take of the book. I mean,
so pretty much you can look at it. They got the characters right from the books with the cast that they made with the actors. Even though they didn't explore them enough, they got the casting right. So, is any like okay? Yeah, I'll get your opinion on it because I know you like him. What about the badass vampires, James and Victoria? What do you think about that, man?
James is that's the dude I was pulling for, dude. I feel like they need to make a movie. Like I've said, you said, once before, who should they make a movie on? Should they continue with, I guess, the relationship that Jacob and Reneza may have? I've always said James, dude, because I just feel like he's another one, dude. There was Jasper and there was James that fit vampires to a T, dude. More than any of them. More than any of them. I want to see more of James, dude. I wish he would portray. Maybe I've seen him in. I don't know if you ever seen the movie Unborn.
No, I actually read that movie this weekend, but no, I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, he's in that, dude. I think they should have gave him more time. Like I said, once again, it's hard to. He was that one movie, and I feel like there's so much you can do with that guy, man.
He should have got a backstory. Like I love that scene with him and Bella. Tell him how it hurts. Tell him how it hurts. Tell him. He's all big him and Bella.
Yeah.
It's like awesome, man. They killed him way off too fast. He at least just survived.
He was just too bad, dude.
He's a badass dude, man. How about that fight scene with him and Edward? What do you think about that, man?
That should have lasted longer, dude.
Kind of like a short, probably the shortest fight scene I ever seen, man.
And see, I guess to touch more on this, since we're really, off and on about this, let's discuss. I remember a comment that I believe Edward told Victoria. He was like, "I'm the one that killed James," when technically he wasn't the one that killed James. So was that him trying to piss her off, or did they mess up?
Because you could tell that she was using that other guy. What was his name? Riley. To get the Bella, but really, he didn't really kill. And she knows it that he really didn't kill. James, but she misses James so much, so he knew saying that would get under her skin to piss her off to where she wanted to fight him. Is what he wanted, but it was kind of funny because really, what if the Coens never showed up in that fight in Twilight? Let's talk about that for a second here. What if the Coens never came to? And who really would have won the fight there? Because really, James was whooping some ass, man, in that fight. You think about it.
Oh, James would have beat him, dude.
James was whooping
There's no doubt about it, man. Honestly, I wish there was more of a fight scene between him and all of them to prove how badass he was, at least to give him a chance to look semi-badass towards the end. Like, this whole movie, you're like, oh, don't fuck with this guy, dude. And then all of a sudden come the end, it's that easy, dude. It shouldn't have been that easy, man. I mean, why is it harder to beat the girl than beat him?
Really, I mean, Bella put up a better fight than Edward, kind of in a way. You think about it. All I did was throw him around. Like I said, see, that was the problem with the movies was the fight scenes were kind of subpar, like kind of eh. I was expecting a way better closing fight scene than what we got. And the lack of character development was my biggest issues with the movies. But other than that, like I said, James, though, he was a badass. So if we ever get like a Twilight spinoff, it has to be James. More James than James.
That's what I'm saying, dude.
We want James, damn it. One thing I don't think you know about that. He actually auditioned for the role of Edward, the guy that played James?
Yeah, hold on. Keep talking. I'm listening, dude.
All right, man. Come to find out. And by the way, because I'm sorry this has been all over the place. Like I said, we're raw and uncut. And we warned you about this when we created this channel, but the guy that played James, I can't really remember. Hey, look, it's Kane. Yeah. What you gonna do, brother?
Oh God.
I feel bad for these people, man. We've been all over the place with this one.
Huh?
We've been all over the place with this one, man. We've been all over the place with this.
Hey. I mean, to a certain degree, we gotta laugh that we actually like this, dude.
But you know what, though? Let's be honest.
So,
Twilight It
I
looked
guess to keep people's attention outside of females that would watch this, you got to be entertained by our comedic style here, man. I think that by far, dude. Honestly, this has been the funnest one, man. Because I've been turning red the whole entire time.
let's go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and drop a pipe bomb. Let's be honest. Twilight is hated by most male people in the world. Let's be honest, right? Isn't that right, man? Most older males our age hate Twilight because it's a supposedly teenage girl love story. Let's be honest. What do you think about that, man? I mean, a lot of people hate it.
I mean, it's just like with any movie that's pretty much lovey-dovey. Let's face the facts here, dude. Nobody would admit that they liked Leonardo until he stepped outside of that lovey-dovey thing, and then everybody's like, "Oh my God, he's one of the best actors there is." So I mean, that's a lot of guys. You know, as sad as it sounds, a lot of guys don't admit they love somebody. You know what I mean? It's like you're hanging out with your girlfriend, your wife, whatever the case may be, and you're all lovey-dovey on her. Then your best friend comes over the corner, and you sort of distance yourself. You know what I mean? That's how I feel they do with these Twilight movies. Honestly, there's probably more men that like Twilight than what they fail to admit. You know
It's
what I'm
like
saying?
it's like you hate the movie. Like you see them every time they come out the theaters. You probably buy the DVDs, and yet you say you hate them. See, even Kane likes them, man. Kane's a huge fan. I wish I had like a Bray Wyatt mask or something. That'd be badass.
Yeah, man. Hey, when you speaking, I know we're off the subject, dude, but did you have did they have the Wyatt family mask at that place?
No, they didn't have one, man. I was looking for one. Surprised that they had a John Cena one. They
Did
had a
they?
John Cena one, and they had a Kane one, and what else did they have? Doink the Clown. So they had.
Yeah,
Well, I'm glad you mentioned it because I was afraid because a lot of guys said like you said they really hate this franchise, but I think secretly they do love it. Let's be honest here. You know, there's a lot worser stories out there than Twilight. I don't think it's even that bad, honestly. I can hop on a DVD player and watch it. It's not easily one of the best movies ever made, but they're enjoyable, fun fantasy films. That's all they are. At the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? So let me ask this, man. Another Q&A for you. Do you think you ever go down and watch the movies ever again? Are you kind of done with the movies now? Now the hype's over with. It's all died down now. Have you kind of moved on from it?
on movies?
I mean, the Twilight movies. Have you kind of like moved on from it? Like you won't watch them again down the road, or?
Like I said, when it comes on TV, if my wife happens to put it on there, I mean, I'll sit there and watch it. Will I ever watch it again? Probably alone. Probably sooner or later.
Yeah, because I mean, like you said, it's like they're just fantasy films, so they're not really meant to be anything more than that. So like I said, if I'm in the mood, like I watch, that's all I watch all the time is Vampire Diaries, vampire films, horror films. I'm a big movie buff, as you all will soon to come to find out. So our next video has to be on horror movies, man. What do you think?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. So I guess we'll close this out, man. You got any last words for the Twilight people?
No.
Do you miss? Be honest, man. Do you miss the Twilight hype? Because you remember how bad it was. See, we were on MySpace back then, and we were part of a Twilight group, in Twilight forum on MySpace. You kind of missed that in a way, man. It was so hyped up back in the day, man.
I mean, I guess the best way to do it, dude, is to be in your prime and to leave in your prime, man. You know what I'm saying? Do I think they need to continue? I mean, on other angles outside of the books, yeah. But should it, this whole story continue? I say no, man. Sooner or later, people get tired of the same old, and you got to sort of step back from it.
That's right, man. All right, so I guess I'll close this out now. This actually, I don't care how clusterfuck this has been. This has been a lot of fun, and we're long overdue, man. I think long overdue. Isn't that right? I'm wearing a Scream Master and a Twilight discussion. Oh boy. This is why we're called Raw&Uncut, right, man? Isn't that right? All right, guys. Until next time, adios amigos.